Здравейте на всички, добре дошли в 8-ми епизод на Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. Продължаваме в страноприемницата, как се казваше, някакъв Guardian нещо беше. Добре, не мога да се сета. Добре, да. Eagle Watch. Така, тук имахме да говорим с още няколко човека, преди да продължим към мисиите, които вече се натрупаха така. То стабилно даже. Divided City. С Companion Quest имаме даже. Find John Dory, she was friend. Окей. Имаме Family Secrets, Spies, Burning City. Това ни е един от началните квести, мисля, че. А трябва да намерим Storyteller-а, да. Gather Allies. A State of Execution. Be prepared. Ще бъдем, ще видим. Така. Ще говорим с Шио. Шио smiles at you warmly. Hey there. During that march through the dungeon, we never got the chance to exchange a proper greeting. It's high time I shake your hand. I'd like to know more about you. Of course. Ask anything. I'll answer honestly. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? I'm a little bit from Geb, a little bit from Katapesh, but mostly from the Knights of Iomendi. I was accepted and began my training at 14. I belong to their ranks more than I belong to any other place. You've come to Mendev by a long road, haven't you? A very long one. She looks at you cheerfully. A traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I have only 3 tales of any interest, and I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise, I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bragging. And that just won't do, especially since I'll win the night with my cautionary tale of battle with Chupacabras. Chupacabra. Така. What are Chupacabras, by the way? Isn't your attitude toward life and war too carefree, especially for Paladin? Was that a hint of reproach? If you're only just asking, then no, I don't think so. You have to know when it's time for jokes and when it's time for mourning. The right moment for joys and for sermons. And sometimes a good traveling story can be all these things, if it entertains and purifies the soul. That story about the Chupacabras is one of the good ones. Picture a small town in Kadira, and down in the dungeon there's 2 murderers waiting to be executed. The gallows are already built for them. The rope's been bought, but sometimes life takes a surprising turn. Suddenly, a paladin of Iomendi appears in the doorway and offers the murderers a deal. If they go with her to fight some monsters, they live. If they survive, that is. There's a big difference between imminent death and probable death, with a glimmer of hope, wouldn't you say? So here we are, traveling through the desert. Me and my friend, a priestess of Serenrai, along with the little Ratfolk fellow who'd asked for our help, and the 2 cutthroats. We get to the Ratfolk village and saw their bodies lying around, all drained dry. We figured we'd have to fight vampires. That's how the little Ratfolk described the monsters who attacked their village. That's why we went in all brazen-like. The sun was high, and the vampires couldn't attack until dusk. But we never got a chance to look around. Black shadows, quick as the wind, attacked us from all sides. Not vampires, but Chupacabras. One of the lads we pulled from the gallows got killed right away. The second one ran off for his life. That left me, the Ratfolk, and Kyra. That was the name of the priestess. And we all steeled ourselves for the fight of our lives. And just when we thought the end had come, with the chupacabras surrounding me like a pack of dogs around a bear, and our rat folk friend wounded and down, and the teeth of the quickest of those blasted monsters was clenched on Kyra's shoulder. Right then, when all hope was lost, the other lad from the gallows suddenly comes running back. He kills the beast attacking Kyra. I'm sure you know what the turning point in a fight looks like. Well, that was it. A moment before we were lost, and a moment later had it back under control. The chupacabras dropped dead, one by one. The little rat folk is reunited with his family, who were hiding in the basement. The priestess and I closed the eyes of that boy from the gallows who saved us. It was a shame he didn't survive the fight. May the gods keep his soul in its journey through the afterlife. That's a good story. He could have died in disgrace on the gallows, but instead he died a hero. And I'd fancy the stunt earned him some points at his final judgment. It's smart to remember our journey doesn't end in death. Had it not been for that mercy, Milos, that was his name, would be hanging from a noose, and me, Kyra, and all the rat folk would be dead in that village. Someone told me that a kind deed done by an unkind person is 100 times more precious. By the same token, an evil done by a noble soul is 100 times more horrifying. That's what I really wanted to say. The chupacabras were just a good starting point. Добре. Какво те накара да станеш паладин на Айомендай? She was gaze sharpens momentarily. Then she sighs. That's a serious question and a good one. You should ask it of your companions, but it's a long story. To start with, 12 years ago, I was nothing like the person I am now. I roamed the streets of Solku with the other homeless orphans. I stole, I fought, I was hired sword for a bit. Not the proper origin for a paladin, is it? Back then, Solku was a city of orphans, widows and widowers. Gnolls decimated the city regularly. My parents were among the victims. People there heard about new deaths before they'd finished mourning their previous losses. One day a group of knights of Ayomindi brought a glimmer of hope to the city, but while others saw them as saviors and protectors, I was busy pricing up their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor, wondering just how much one of their pretty swords would fetch. A thief lives one day at a time, that's what they say. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into the knight's camp and steal one of their mithril helms. Sheila pauses, her voice sad and measured. And I was right there when a gnoll attacked the helm's owner. Asemi was her name, and dealt a blow to her unprotected head. A gnoll, like all those others, she'd furiously driven off from the gates of Solku. That one blow was fatal, but who really was to blame for her death, the gnoll attacker or the young thief named Sheila? Това е вярно. Even a seemingly small misdeed can have terrible consequences. Обаче се чуда дали да заложим на lawful варианта или да кажем you couldn't have known the consequences of your actions, защото в крайна сметка не знаеш сега. Всеки прави неща и не знае какво ще се случи в крайна сметка. Може да стане много, много лошо. Може да има много лош резултат. Което е факт. Добре, айде ще... То това не е оправдава, но става просто, че няма и смисъл да я съдиме. Но това по-скоро ще го кажем като мъдрост един вид. Добре, ще заложим на lawful, че така или иначе тръгнахме по тази система. Even a seemingly small misdeed can have terrible consequences. Yes, you're right 1000 times over. I hate to say it, but I just didn't see it back then. And if I had never gotten... and I have never got that lesson, my eyes would probably never have been opened. Who knows what would have happened to me if it wasn't for Asemi and her bravery and her death. Да. Maybe the world would know Silo as a bandit, not as a knight and protector of those in need. There's a saying I like to remember. People rarely find redemption in their own. Someone must show them the way. You were asking what brought me into the ranks of Iomendi's warriors. We all chose the paladin's path for our own reasons. Some are guided by nobility of spirit, some by desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and debt unpaid. The day Asemi died protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it wouldn't make the world any better, and I decided that instead I'd try to take her place. I'd become who she had been and protect the innocents that she would no longer be able to protect. What are the principles that paladins of Iomendi follow? She smiles. I'll tell you. I like to recite our code. It feels like I've said it 1,000 times, but it never gets old. There is strength in these words. After a pause, she begins her voice slow and meditative. I will learn the weight of my sword. Without my heart to guide it, it is worthless. My strength is not my sword, but in my heart. If I lose my sword, I have lost a tool. If I betray my heart, I have died. I will have faith in the inheritor. I will channel her strength through my body. I will shine in her legion, and I will not tarnish her glory through base actions. I am the first into battle, and the last to leave it. I will not be taken prisoner by my free will. I will not surrender those under my command. I will never abandon a companion, though I will honor sacrifice freely given. Ой, можете. I will guard the honor of my fellows, both thought and deed, and I will have faith in them. When in doubt, I may force my enemies to surrender, but I am responsible for their lives. I will never refuse a challenge from the unequal. I will give honor to worthy enemies and contempt to the rest. I will suffer death before dishonor. I will be temperate in my actions and moderate in my behavior. I will strive to emulate Iomedes' perfection. When the Skari attacked Kenebres, everything seemed to be lost, but the first person I met after the catastrophe was you, my sister in fate. I believe this is a sign that Iomedes watches over us. I hope that's true, although to be honest, our mentors used to warn us against being too eager to see messages from the goddess in every little thing. Being devout is all well and good, but you've got to rely on your own head. Thank you, I've learned everything I wanted to know. I hope I didn't bore you. Ask me something else if you like. Irbet said your friend Jana Eldor is missing. Do you know where we should look for her? Irbet is worried about her fighters, I understand that. I wanted to look for Jana myself, so I didn't distract you. But since you're in this too, I could use some help. Jana and I met in Kenebres a few days ago and just hit it off. We went drinking together. We went on that unforgettable celebration together too, but we got separated in the crowd, so we should start looking from the main square. That's where I last saw her. Sheila frowns. Jana's a good fighter, even if she's green. She couldn't have become an Eldori otherwise. I hope that means she's alright. What do you think of what's going on in Kenebres? Що се дегна? A friend in need. It's complete chaos. It's lucky we're here to handle it right. Sheila smiles brightly, then she gives you a worried look. Does the way I talk bother you? I know I can see him blaze. Many good people and our protector Terendelev died here in Kenebres. A paladin of Iomedes is expected to be properly respectful and solemn. But I prefer to face my troubles with a smile and a bit of common sense. Grief is a weapon they'll use against you. It can undermine a warrior spirit. It's better we hold off on our grief until we've driven the last demon and cultist from the city. There's wisdom in the traditions of mourning, and one shouldn't reject them, all the more so if inappropriate merriment could offend other mourners. Many people's loved ones perished in Kenebris. Sheila sighs, you may be right. I should keep myself in check more. Better discipline, more self-control, qualities suited to a paladin. Is fighting demons all you want, or are you looking for something more? How about covering myself in glory and becoming the hero of 100 ballads? Or at least dozen, if they were lively ones. Sheila's eyes shine cheerfully. Anyway, to be more serious, the area around the world won't is best place for a paladin who wishes to defend the weak and serve good. Being part of the crusade is reward enough for me, but there's something that worries me. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing my brothers in arms, but the Eagle Watch and the other orders are focused on just one aim, the war against the world wound. That's why they can sometimes overlook the smaller things, ordinary misfortunes, you know. I always liked being a wandering knight, because any moment I could get up and go help a poor rat folk whose family had been kidnapped, or an old woman whose favorite dog had gone missing. So there's my answer. I don't have some big important goal, but I'll be happy to help those who need it, a little bit here and a little bit there. Right, thank you for speaking with me. Until next time. See you. Sheila smiles, тръгна да казвам. И ми се смесиха двете думи. Кой си ти? Този е някакъв нов. A tall athletic man greets you. His hair is prematurely grey and shorn close to his head in a military style. He is lean and well groomed, and a monocle twinkles coldly in his eye. The bold set of his jaw and his large but agile frame arrest that here is a man who is always ready to be on the move. Greetings, I'm Hyler, Venture Captain of the Pathfinder Society. Това ще бъде този, който ще ни дава възможност да си правиме геройчета, в случай, че ни потрябват, така да се каже, наемници. I'm the superior officer among Pathfinders in this region of Mendev. However, the society is running almost no operations here right now. Besides me, there are almost no Pathfinders here. Actually, I'm only stuck here because of an old feud with the demon worshipper known as the Spinner of Nightmares. I've had to work alone without the support of the society, but I have made a lot of acquaintances among the local mercenaries and daring fighters. If you need any good fighters for an honest cause, talk to me. Tell me about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. It all began with the task of the Pathfinder Society. I arrived in the Nerusian with my team to investigate the sudden death of a famous crusader, Baron Fauron. We soon focused in on a small hospital for the wealthy, where Fauron was being treated shortly before his death. It turned out that the gang of Baphomet's cultists, calling themselves the Labyrinth of Mind, had gotten a foothold in the hospital. Baphomet има много култисти тук в този град, бе. Той е пълно с паладини, как са се набили тук? They were obsessed with twisting the minds of their victims, targeted fragile people, too weak to resist. The hospital was filled with perfect victims, isolated for weeks from the outside world, completely helpless. And when they returned they were different, almost normal, but the moment they heard a certain phrase, something dark awoke in their mind, and they transformed into servants of Baphomet, ready to lie, betray and even kill. The Labyrinth of Mind was preparing to infiltrate all the elite circles in Mendev, but Baron Farwon stopped them. He was too loyal to his oath and too resistant to their spells. He fought for his freedom until the strain broke his heart. We opened and cleaned the city of Baphomet's pit of vipers. There then was the cradle of sin and filth. They cast spells on each other, and their loathsome fantasies stepped real from their minds into the world. They dreamt of horrible and forbidden things, and they fought like mad. We burned the place to the ground, and slaughtered everyone we could, but the leaders of the cult were able to flee, and they were set upon revenge. They abducted my daughter, Lori, who served under my command in the Pathfinder Society. They left me a note full of tart insults, mockery and sneers. From that note I learned the name of my enemy, the Spinner of Nightmares. A few months later, I confirmed that she was the leader of the Labyrinth of Mind. My hunt had begun. I would get Laurie back at any cost. He grits his teeth with bulldog determination. I want to know more about you. What exactly are you interested in? I'm a common Pathfinder. There are many others like me. Fate and my orders brought me to this land. How did you end up here? I was working on an assignment for the for the Pathfinder Society, and then a demon worshipper named the Spinner of Nightmares abducted my daughter Laurie. For the past 3 years I've been trying to save her. During this time I've become a specialist in scouting demon territory. I've even planted agents among the cultists. Truth be told, in pursuing the Spinner of Nightmares, I've been acting more on behalf of Queen Galfrey than the Pathfinder Society. It's a long story, maybe I'll tell you the rest of it sometime. Hero frowns grimly. This Spinner of Nightmares is a true spawn of the Abyss. I fought her many times, but I've never been able to size her by a throat. Tell me about your daughter. Hero smiles, showing his healthy white teeth. As a girl, Laurie was just an angel. We lost her mother early on. She was left to follow my example. A drifter with a little idea how to talk to a 10-year-old girl. But even with such questionable parenting, Laurie managed to grow into a wonderful girl. Brave, smart, beautiful, and entirely unbearable. She has always argued with me about everything. When Laurie was 18 and told me she was going to be Pathfinder, all I said was, alright. I knew there was no use in trying to talk her out of it, and she was a fine Pathfinder. Hero's fist clenched with a painful sounding crack. I'll never forgive Spinner of Nightmares for taking my girl from me. Tell me about the Pathfinder Society. The Pathfinder Society is a global organization that unites opportunists and adventurers of all kinds. We explore the world and uncover its secrets, travel and sometimes face down threats. In times of trouble, the latter becomes our primary focus. We're driven by curiosity and the desire to make the world a better place. And, of course, some seek profit or hunger for glory. But in any case, it's hard work. They might send you anywhere on a mission. Weaklings have little place in society. It's more for seasoned fighters. There are society lodges in many cities. The closest one is in Nerusian. They are each led by venture captains, lads like me. The Grand Lodges in Absalom, the center of the world, the Decimvirat sits there. The anonymous council of our leaders. Decimvirat. Интересно. За момента не ни трябват смели и опитни войни. Training. My companions and I need good training. I will get a great mentor from Absalom. For the first few times he will train your fighters free of charge. Ретрейн, т.е. да може да си смениме скиловете, така ли? О, това е много яко. Добре, значи нещо около бъркаме, тук мога да си смениме разни неща. О, това е много добре. Чудесно, окей. Така, Ирбет, дали ще им кажа нещо ново. Ирбет rubs her head and tired eyes. Any success? How is the city? What's our main objective? You heard what that demon said. They're going to desecrate the Wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the World Wound. That would be an even worse disaster than the World Wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Canberra's, but every city in the Wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that no matter what. We'll retake it, even destroy it if we must. This gift must not become a weapon of the Abyss. Мисля, че ние питахме вече за Wardstone-ите. Tell me of the Eagle Watch. It was a small order created to fight not only demons but also the enemy within. To maintain the purity of the paladin ranks, prevent heresy and identify spies. And it failed miserably at that. The Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth infiltrated it and formed their nest within its ranks. Pleading their lives to Baphomet, these cultists schemed to subvert the good works of the Crusaders. They caused trouble in Crusader camps, instigating fights and edging participants on the greater violence. They spread lies and sowed the seeds of fear with voices sweetened by magic. Some have even assumed the roles of holy crusaders and risen in the ranks of other knightly orders, waiting for the moment when their treachery can be used to achieve a most foul end. Интересно. After the queen assured me with leading the order, after the queen entrusted me with leading the order, Anivia and I practically built it from scratch. We got rid of dead weight, people who weren't committed. We organized ways to transmit messages and others safely. We introduced reliable ciphers. We found tacit allies around the city, formed crusader orders to street beggars. This was my personal crusade, to purge the city of the Templars who had infested it. And I thought I was winning. I could feel it. We were so close to driving the cultists out of Kenebres, but Irbet frowns. It's hard to admit, but those successes didn't count for much once the demons entered the city. Defender's Heart, да. Сърцето на защитника. Точно така. Така не се казва тук базичката, таверната. On the contrary, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be a headquarters at the Defender's Heart. The cultists would have served up the city on a platter to the demons. The lines on Irbet's forehead softened. Yes, that's true. It's a good thing we achieved something. Thank you. Right. Personal questions. Frowning a little, Irbet nods. Please, but I must warn you, there are some things I don't have the right to discuss. Where are you from? I was born in Kenebres. I grew up on a farm just outside it. But my way back home lay at the end of a long and winding road. It took me years of traveling through the foreign lands before I came to be where I always belonged. How did you become a paladin? A bitter smile appears on the half-orc's face. I don't much like to remember it. Believe it or not, the story of how I became a paladin is also the story of how I felt to become a knight. My parents were crusaders, made their souls stand together in Naomendi's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from the war and started preparing me to continue their legacy, but my father was an orc. You'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser and more pious servant of the goddess than he. But still, all his life he was dodged by sideways looks and whispers. When I grew older and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Kenebres. That was where my father had served loyally, and his only reward had been injustice. Besides, the witch hunters, led by Honorable Prelate Harlum, stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows what they have done to strange... Who knows what they'd have done to a strange girl with green skin. Instead, I went to a smirk that looks more like a painful grimace crosses her face. You can laugh if you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Last Wall of all places. You can imagine how well I was accepted in a country that's been battling the orcs of Belkzen since its foundation. While orcs can be found throughout Golarion, nowhere else are they as plentiful or live in as densely populated settlements as in the Hold of Belkzen. Is an unforgiving wasteland filled with shrub brush, steep mountains and unshaven badlands. Hurlun Shapuk. Kenebres' famed prelate first gained the trust and admiration of city people by organizing inquisitions against suspected demon worshippers and witches. Hurlun and his force of elite witch hunters exposed dozens of cultists and spies, and it is said executed many more under suspicion, but with no real proof. Пак се почва с някакви прекалено фанатични типове. Mendevian Witch Hunts. Добре. Добре. Това мисля, че даже сме учени, но не съм много сигурен. There were many there like me, but we are all treated as second-class citizens. To the locals, my green skin was worse than a leper's cub's. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance. I took many vows, and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin. But even then, not a single order would accept me into their ranks. I spent another 6 months knocking on doors before I realized the simple truth. I serve Ayomedi, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them. So I left as a paladin, but not a knight. You must stick out like a sore thumb no matter where you go, right? I know many people envy Asimars, but most of the ones I've known found their celestial heritage a burden. I find it hard to imagine what unasked for adoration must be like. Unasked for adoration be like. But I'm sure it doesn't make life any easier or any more pleasant. How do you come to join a knightly order? I left last fall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my path led me to where atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims, of course. I wandered the river kingdoms for a few years, killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time, but my true place was in Kenebres. But I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't even want to think about going back. But in the end, divine providence had brought me to my senses. It happened in Timon. I was tracking a gang of bandits which my employer suspected was a cover for Razmiran spies. I managed to find their lair, but inside I found something far more dangerous than spies, an unholy temple to Zenkutom. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone, the person who was destined to become my wife, Anivia, but that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread through all of Avistan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Kenebres and were even among the ranks of the paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming would be tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone. Anivia was eager to destroy the cultists, as I was. Anivia and I hurried to Kenebres. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience in investigation, and my beloved, the half-orc smiles warmly. She knew her way around working locks, tailing people, and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. Soon we defeated, alas, not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. Do you know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? The commander of the Eagle Watch. Естествено. Can you imagine? While Prelate Hurlun was chasing witches through the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the Queen. At first she planned to disband the order in disgrace, but then she offered its command to me, and put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. I can't imagine the followers of Zun Kuton in alliance with demon worshippers. Shouldn't they hate each other? They should, but Baphomet's minions are masters of deception. They manipulate Zankuton's butchers as eagerly as Yomenday's knights. The cultists from the unholy temple didn't know the true face of their associates in Kenebres. We ourselves learned the truth much later, after getting to the bottom of their nest. How did the people of Kenebres feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. It shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from other continents, come here to fight demons. Apparently, the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There were already many like me here, and we don't have any problems. Though the locals do have their suspicions, Mendef is as merciless as Last Wall. They just have different set of victims. I kept seeing those same sideways looks and skulls, hearing the familiar whispers. But where once they used to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point at someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of humiliation, to wipe the spit from your face, and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured out by now that I am talking about tieflings. It's true there are many of them among the cultists and few among our crusaders, and our fighters do all they can to drive away those who would be our allies. People shun them, call them Arilu spawn or worse, as if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to raise against the call of one's blood and join forces of good. Still, most only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change this in all my time in Kenebers. Tell me about Anivia. We met at Timon. As I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another, we returned to Kenebers together to expose the temples of Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen united me was the second happiest day of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Anivia isn't just my beloved, she's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving her back then. The day Kenebers fell. Before her return, the only thing giving me strength to protect the Defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. We're in your debt. Thank you for your answers. Got to go. Go, may Iomedi keep you safe. Така, мисля, че тук говорихме с... Чакай. Какво това? It's loot! Healer of the Spinner of... Hyler and the Spinner of Nightmares. The Spinner of Nightmares, Healer ми говориш. То всъщност книгата е за него и за Спинър. Интересно. Добре. Сега, остана да говорим с тези тук. Noble Survivors. Citizen Surveyor. Джероnog. Какъв си ти, приятелче? A young man in well-worn traveling clothes and a simple wooden symbol of Erastil on his chest is efficiently cutting a linen rope into strips to use as bandages. Erastil. Джерно. Имаше един прист от Pathfinder Kingmaker, точно от главните са, обаче не мога да се сетя как се казваше. Беше пак нещо с Джей, мисля, че. Не мога да си спомня как се казваше, но той ни беше от съветниците в Pathfinder Kingmaker. Despite his visible exhaustion, he works with zeal, singing some tune about red braids and wrapped sheaves of wheat under his breath. He raises his arm, chestnut-colored eyes to you. Are you one of the Crusaders? Thank you for defending those of us whose talents lie off the battlefield. I'm Jernu, servant of Erastil. Pleased to meet you. What are you doing? I only took my holy orders recently, so my god has only bestowed a little of his power upon me as yet. I'm sorry to say that the number of wounded fighters in this tavern is far beyond my power to heal, but there's a reason people say, have faith in the gods, but look to yourself first. I may not be able to help the wounded with magic, but I can at least cut up the bandages. Cut up bandages. Да реже... да. Превръзки. Are you from around here? No. I was just passing through Kenebers. I was sailing down that old man of ours, the great Solent River, to a village by the name of Chili Creek. I happened to land in the city on the eve of the festival, and I'm ashamed to say I decided to stay for a day to enjoy myself. But I ended up staying in the city longer than I bargained for. Chili Creek, where's that? It's a small fishing village. It's not even marked on some maps, but people do live there. What they don't have is a priest. They have no one to heal their wounds, no one to offer prayers for good catch, no one to give their dead a dignified burial, and the world wound is a stone's throw away, so I'll be setting sail for Chili Creek to serve my god and my people. Once we've held Canabras, I'll be going there. If by any chance, if by the grace of the gods we all survive this, you should come and visit me sometime. You will find the village here, on the bank of the river. The priest marks Chili Creek on your map. Aren't you a young and inexperienced cleric, afraid to go to the border of the world wound? Cold waters. I won't lie, I'm afraid, but what can I do? Those villagers are simple people. Every day of their short lives is spent doing hard, honest work. That's exactly the kind of life I want. Something simple but meaningful. If I had centuries ahead of me, like elves do, I might have spared some 50 years or so to travel around the world, the young man says with a smile. Or maybe even 100, why not? But I don't have time to spare, so I want to spend my short life in the place where I am needed most. Even if it's dangerous. Especially if it's dangerous. I could use the help of a cleric. General makes a helpless gesture. Rastil knows I'd be glad to help you, but it's no use. My spells are depleted and I have no training in potions or scrolls. See this rope I'm cutting up for bandages? Is the second to last one. Alright. May Rastil watch over you. Така. Тук имаме обаче още някакъв Form Autumn Haze. A tall, fragile-looking elf sits in front of you, eyes closed. He's pale as a ghost. His arm wrapped in blood-stained bandage. You spot other bandages on his body under his clothes, but even in such a miserable state, he managed to keep calm. Raising his eyes to meet yours, he says finally, "I'm Form Autumn Haze, at your service." His pale lips are reddened by blood, but you see no signs of pain or fear in his grey eyes. Do you need help? After giving you a cold, intense look, he shakes his head. "No trouble yourself on my behalf. A local healer tended to me. Besides, I come from a resilient, hard people. My body will endure both the wounds and the poison delivered through them." Who are you? My name is Form Autumn Haze. I've come here from Kionin because I'm a hunter, and all minions of evil are my quarry. I won't say more than that, if you don't mind. We are strangers and of different races and cultures. I'd rather not tell you more than is necessary. Who wounded you? A sinner and accomplice to demons. The quarry I'm hunting in this inhospitable place. Нещо ми заседна. Извинете. I'm Justin. You can trust me. I might be able to help you. After a brief pause, Form says, "It would be impolite to refuse such a direct and friendly offer. Who is your quarry here in Mendev?" "I was hunting a fugitive, a Descarate by the name of Kailisa. It pains me to admit that there are heinous malefactors such as her among my noble kind. I managed to catch up to her in Canabras and I wounded her. Then demons appeared and the city was engulfed in flames. I was injured in the battle that ensured and couldn't free her soul from its service to her dark masters." He expresses no anger or hatred as he speaks, only compassionate sorrow. "I'm sorry for your misfortune. I hope things will turn out differently next time." He purses his lips. "There is no need for pity. Our ancient kind is blessed with great longevity. We gain a deeper understanding of the world than other races, and we learn our lessons better than anyone. That goes for learning from our mistakes as well. I survived, which means I will be more prepared when next we meet." "I wish to aid you in your hunt." Form covers his eyes wearily. "I thank you, but this is my mission, and I'm used to facing all manner of terrors on my own. I do appreciate your willingness to help. If you happen to meet Carissa, take caution. She has turned many innocent souls to the path of evil, and darkness has rewarded her with many gifts. Her appearance alone will tell you that it is worth. The aged skin and malicious stare of her blood-red eyes the bestial teeth. She's more monster than elf at this point. Ooh, 26 world knowledge. Това ще го фейлнаме 100%. Обаче нека да го пробваме, айде. Той е 26, аз дори да фърля 20. Пак няма да успеем да го стигнем, така че няма да му го кажа. I'd like to know more about you. I won't hold anything back, not who I am, why I made my way here, or who it is that I'm pursuing. Така. Other people stand to believe that identity is the sum of a person's actions and the events that happen to them. For them, I am one of a long line of warriors of Kyonin who since his youth has dedicated himself to hunting evil and injustice. For them, I am a successful and capable huntsman who has tracked down and slain a great many monsters. But I'm an elf, and for me my identity has a different meaning. It is shaped by the place where I was born and that I love so deeply. I am shaped by what I found beautiful and what makes my heart quicken, by the fears that come to me in the dead of night, by the things I found so intolerable that at the sight of them my very core darkens and fills with poison. Thus to tell you who I am, I would require many days and much candor, which is more than you and I have at our disposal. Why did you choose to be a hunter of evil? Because I am the son of a noble and proud nation, we are sometimes criticized for our arrogance, but no one dares doubt our honor. When a crime is committed, we cannot turn a blind eye. If we were to abandon our obligation to oppose evil, if we were to surrender this obligation to other races, we would also relinquish our preeminence. Remind me, who is the quarry that brought you to Medef? Всъщност не знам. Не, refresh my memory, не. Нямам нужда от тия неща. Okay, got to go. Fortune to you.
Let us press on.
Видим какво се намира в The Basement. Делвам. Някакви гардове. Тук има някакви неща за взимане. Някакви бутони, някакви неща. Surrender the soul, Delvam. Iomedi protect us. Ha ha ha, got you again. How many times is that today? Take your jokes and shove them, Tiflim. Whoa, easy there, chief. Don't hit me. Интересно. Чакайте да вземем ние тук каквото имам като ресурси. Имаме гардове. Чакайте да сейвна, да не ми се скарат, че им събирам тук нещата. Тук имаше щитче, което го взехме от... The button won't budge. Някакъв бутон. Делвам. Go ahead, don't take too long though. Волджив. Можем да говорим с Волджив. Интересно.
Hey Chief! Hey Dreamboat, come over here! I want to talk to you about something. Something really important.
The young tiefling sits cross-legged on the floor. He looks relatively calm for someone in shackles, but his tail whips back and forth in agitation. Noticing your attention, the tiefling sits up and beckons you over.
Quit bothering the decent people in here, Woljif, or I'll knock your teeth out!
What's it to you, Delvin Dum-Dum? You were told to guard me, and I'm not stopping you. But no one told me I had to shut my trap.
Who are you?
Woljif. Woljif Jefto. I deal in useful things. I can get you whatever you want. Anything. But there's just one problem.
The tiefling rattles his chains and gives you a meaningful look. Why are you in chains?
Does it really matter? Don't get hung up on the past, Chief. Don't look to
Има
the
огромно
future.
значение.
Live in the here and now.
He was caught thieving.
Каш. Your shadow, what was that?
Get me out of here and I'll tell you. And don't worry, it's not contagious.
The tiefling grins and laughs. What do you want from me?
I'll lay it out for you. Simple job, 30 minutes tops. We go someplace, talk to someone, and in return, whatever you want, I'll get it for you. Some extra rations, no problem. Armor, weapons, scrolls, you name it. It's as good as yours. If you need my help with something, whistle and I'll be there. I'm handy enough with knives too, and even my magic know-how isn't too shabby.
What a load of guff! If you were good at magic, you wouldn't be stuck in here now, would you?
Don't you listen to him, Chief. He'd find fault with the Queen herself. I'll be useful to have in battle, and I'll sell whatever you want at a reasonable price. It's your lucky day. You won't meet another gem like me in Canabras.
I can't help you while you're chained up here. How can I free you?
That's easy. You know Irabeth? Feisty-looking gal, always wears armor. You can't miss her. She's the meanest fighter in the whole city. When you see her, put in a good word for me, will ya? Tell her there's this guy, Woljif, locked up for no good reason in the Defender's Heart. Well, for the follies of his youth. And he really wants to get out on bail so he can keep up his good behavior and make a contribution to society. You got that? Will you do it?
Alright, I'll talk to you about it. Irabeth about your situation.
I knew I could count on you. Knew it the moment I laid eyes on you.
Woljif grins. We'll talk later. Добре, Woljif може да ни е някакъв вид съюзници. Сега ще видим как ще се случат нещата. Outside. А това какво прави? What the hell? Чакай. О, той има няколко ръчки всъщност. Чакай, са тия са надолу. Обаче това вече не е надолу. Бутон on budge.
We march ahead.
Тук има някакъв пъзъл. С този бутон. Значи имаме 3 ръчки. Въпросът е коя трябва да е надолу.
Our path leads on.
Won't budge. Добре. Тази се чува по някакъв много странен начин, обаче. Я да видим.
I will guide us.
Мисля, че нещо се прави точно с бутона и ръчките. Обаче какво е въпроса? Тук се чува някакъв механизъм някакси отстрани, така. Или поне така на мен ми се струва. Дали трябва в някакъв ред да ги натисне на ръчките? Добре, не знам. Може би това ще трябва да изчака за сега. С тия ръчки. Нека да не губиме повече време. Защото не съм сигурен дали това, което правя, въобще има някакъв смисъл. Все пак.
Godspeed.
Сега. Къде беше... Искам първо да... Някой тук продаваше някакви неща. Така. Чакайте да видим сега какво взехме. Имаме някакви неща за продаване. Дартове. Имаме яко мастерлък неща, което е хубаво. Така, тия неща ги продаваме. Тук. Добре. Мисля, че това е всъщност, което ми трябваше. Опа, тук неща за продаване. Така.
Let us not hesitate.
success has the city. Така. There is a tiefling chained up in a defender's heart. What can you tell me about him? Rebet shrugs scornfully. Wojif is a petty thief from a gang of tieflings operating in Kenabris. That's what we call them in these parts. They tried to rob a vendor of magical items recently. Unfortunately, we apprehended only one of them, and the rest managed to escape. We have nowhere else to keep him apart from the defender's heart, but that's hardly a prison. Wojif knows it too. He's been begging us for days to let him go free or have some vouch for him. He's already asked you to put in a good word for him, hasn't he? Herbert squints at you thoughtfully, then shrugs. If you want to recruit Wojif and put him to good use, go ahead and take him off our guard's hands. We can ill afford to let a soldier spend their days watching over a middling thief. I hope the tiefling proves useful, should you decide to take him along. Добре. Тим да го взема. Ще го взема, ще го освободиме. Сега трябва да попълним екипа. Трябват ни хора.
Let us press on.
Така се е завъртяло тук, че. А тия ръчки ми е много интересно какво става с тях. Go ahead.
Well, Chief, what do you got for me?
Wojif is sitting in the same place with his tail impatiently batting the floor. Talk to Irbet and I have decided to make you part of my troop. We'll see how it goes.
You must be a smooth talker. Come on, Delvin. Get these bracelets of yours off me. I'm going free.
Wojif leaps to his feet and gleefully rubs his hands.
You're sure to regret this. This tiefling will fleece you for everything you've got. Mark my words.
You're a bitter little man, Delvin. Petty and mean. You can't even be happy for me, can you? I pity you. I'll leave you alone with your sad little soul. So long. And now, Chief, straight down to business. You see, I'm one of those guys that people around here call thieflings. We just call ourselves the family. After we knocked over that shop and I got stuck here in the Defender's Heart, a little bird told me that big sister Charisme wanted to see me. Bet she had some questions to ask me. You following?
Не съвсем, ще видим. Wojif is freed from his shackles and moves his chaffed wrists. He glances around, making sure that no one is listening in.
Now, she won't be asking me questions like, Woljif, how'd you manage to get out of this one? Or, Woljif, you're so thin, didn't they feed you? No, something serious has gone down, and I just know they want to try to pin something on me. I can feel it in my tail. So, I knew right away that I couldn't go alone. You turned up just in time, Chief. You don't need to do anything when we get there. Just stand behind me and look mean, and I'll handle the rest. Somehow. Let's go, I'll show you the way.
Добре. Веднага ли? Не, сега ще го пусне, добре. Окей. So, we have a tiefling fella. Да му се не види, искам този бутон да проработи. Ужас. Чакайте, не тръгвам. Вижте как тук при тия двата имаме светещо нещо. В смисъл светещо нещо. Такова. Факла. И над бутона има факла. Значи нещо се случва тук. Трябва по-скоро да е свързано с факлите. Опа! Нещо се помръдна. Добре, бе! Отново сме номер 1. Аз цъкам обаче в стената някакви неща. Yellow letter. Something interesting is going on here. Добре, дайте сега да отидем да говорим с трейдърчето, за да може да идентифицираме тая коронка. Тя ме прилича на Circle of Intelligence, но сега ще видим. Разкрихме поредната загадка. Така, тия неща няма да ни трябват. Аз какво взех още? Взех нещо, някакво писмо. Така. Това е... Чаризма е всъщност. Плюс 5 максимум hit points обаче. Аз на колко кръв съм? То се виждаше някъде, но... Този кой е левел? Той си е дигнал левела. Eldrick Scoundrel. Той е роук! Идеално! Я чакайте да видим. Да му сложим някакъв ranged weapon. Един шортбол. И направо му го слагаме. Нека да ги стреля с него. Защо няма броня той? Не е ли добра идея да... той не може да носи броня? Защо сме пълни с толкова много хора, където нямат броня? Там обаче скролове колкото искаш. Чакай да ги разкараме тия скролове за сега, защото... този скрол ще му го оставим. Mage Armor. Знаете ли какво? Той сигурно има тая магия, най-вероятно. Mage Armor. Да. Си слагам Mage Armor и няма никакви грижи. Ясно, разбрах. Само първи левел магии. Color Spray. Burning Hands. Тоест те са планирали той да е наблизки с Mage Armor да се бие. Плюс 4 АЦ. Той колко АЦ има в принцип? 17 и 4, 21. Не е зле. Даже може и напред да се бие. Как е с декстеритито? Плюс 5 декстерити. Според мен ще си е по-добър ranged. Obviously. Много декстерити и страшно много intelligence. Добре, този герой ме кефи. Chaotic Neutral. Няма да успяваме да се разберем с него в партията, ми се струва. Ма ще видим. Така. Добре, оправихме се с тия неща. Той къде отиде сега? Не трябва ли да е някъде тук горе? Или? Ето го Лоджив. Мога да говорим с него. Сега обаче. Не, всъщност мисля да си сложим чаризма, защото ще станем на 20 и това ще ни даде плюс 1 на All Saving Throws. Така че ще сложим чаризмата. 34 кръв оставам. Сега ще видим на кой да сложим още 5 кръв. Или на нея, или на нея. Ще видим на един, два. 5 максимум хитпоинта, не е зле. Всъщност може и на него, знаете ли. Той без това ще му седи интересно тази шалка. Ама не знам дали ще се бие на близки, така че ще видим. Добре, пак сега. Lojif, my friend. Hey Chief, wanna talk? Lojif's give you a friendly wave. I want to know more about you. How much is more? Are your family tieflings too? My family is an interesting story actually, but I don't tell it to just anyone. My father and mother had a bakery. Their life was great, but the gods never blessed them with any children. One day my mother went to the river to wash some clothes and saw a basket floating downstream. Inside the basket was a baby, adorable and chubby fast asleep. It was yours truly, and my hand was an old sprite with expensive perfume that said, "Take care of my little angel." My mother brought me home, and she and my father realized right away that I was heaven sent. They raised me as their own. When I turned 15, my mother showed me my baby blanket. It was embroidered with a coat of arms of an unknown kingdom, all in gold thread. Ever since then, I've been looking for my real parents, but it's not easy traveling, it takes money. So if you have a few gold coins, I'll pay you back as soon as I find my real family. I'll give you my word. That doesn't sound very believable. That doesn't sound very believable. Seriously? Usually everyone just believes everything I say. People love stories like that, you know. A cute baby, a basket, a blanket. What's not to love? They look at me differently, as if I'm worth more just because the sheets I speed up on might have had a fancy coat of arms on them. Lojif laughs bitterly. If I was really a prince, I wouldn't be sitting around here, I can tell you that much. I'd have already gone to take what was rightfully mine, and then I'd come back with an army, so I could watch the guards and merchants who pushed me around all my life bow and scrape before me. But that's not gonna happen. Wanna hear the real story? The true story is boring. My family is human, both my father and my mother. They used to live in a village nearby. I forgot the name. When my ma had me, my old man got so mad he almost killed her, pinned her to the wall and started asking questions, like why his son had horns and a tail. Well, my ma told him that her mother, my grandma, used to fool around with a demon. When he heard this, Daddy Dearest got drunk, trashed the house, and then took off. I don't remember any of this, of course, my grandma told me. I was about 3 years old when my mother brought me to Kenebras and left me with my grandma. She said to her, "You and your demon have ruined my life, now you handle him." Then she left. I haven't seen her or my dad since. She did leave a blanket though, that part was true, but my grandma burned it because it was infested with lice. It wasn't even good enough to use as a rag. You think after all that my grandmother saw the light, felt rightly ashamed and kissed my horns? I wish. Wojciech grins nastily, his yellow eyes flashing. People used to give her trouble for fooling around with the demon. She wasn't welcome anywhere, so she got angry. Normal kids get bedtime stories, see? But the only tales I got told were how my dad was worthless, my ma was a slut, and I was demon spawn that no one cared about. She only kept me so I could help around the house and steal things she needed. So that's the truth. How did you become a tiefling? Wojciech grins happily. I already was a tiefling and life made me a thief. I've been in this business since I was a kid. My grandma used to say, if you don't work, you don't eat. And she gave me as an apprentice to Jaeger, a tiefling neighbor of ours. He was a cunning old geezer. He knew how to take a purse off somebody's belt, how to cut open bags undetected, even do some magic. I used to climb through the basement windows and open doors from the inside while I was still small enough. And when I grew and stopped fitting through the windows, I decided I was done with my education. I repaid my grandma for everything she'd done for me, which was absolutely nothing. Why would I feed her if she wasn't bringing me any money? If you don't work, you don't eat, so I took off. I got bored of my teacher too, but when I was much as hinted at leaving, he said I owed him for my education, so I just nodded and then I joined the Owl Bears, the gang that ran our district, and told them that Jaeger was working their territory. Owl Bears, nice. I don't know what happened to him, but I stayed with the Owl Bears. Then their leader started giving me the cold shoulder. I did steal from him, but never that much, so I had to rat them out to the guards, and I joined the Golden Hands. That was a good time, rich pickings. I would have stayed with the Golden Hands, but the Northmen promised me a bigger cut if I told them where the Golden Hands kept their loot. I'm no fool, of course, so I told them. After that I only had one option, to join the Northmen. And then the family came. At first no one took them seriously, calling them tieflings and all that, but I felt it right away. They had power behind them. And they had more money. I'm always on the winner's side, chief. That's why I joined the tieflings, and right on time. Some thugs came from the capital and made the Northmen leave. The ones who survived are in the family now too. Tell me about the tieflings. Alright, I won't tell you everything, mind, but I can tell you a little. The tieflings are Mendevian thieves. The gang was started in Mendev's capital by someone or other, and soon after they had spread all over Golarion. They are also called the family. You know why? Because us tieflings are easy to spot. Wherever we go, guards always hustle us, asking, "Are you lost or somewhat, hornhead?" We usually say we are visiting family. And if they say, "Oh yeah, who?" you give them the name of a local tiefling who confirms everything even if he's never seen you before in his life. That's why we're all brothers and sisters. Ей, налага се, да, що са така ги мразят всички, е нормално. Ясно е са. Такива демонични са, никой не се кефи. Особено пък, примерно в този град, тук с крузерите и нещата. There are rules. Who does that? Who does what? Who gets what cut? I don't say it's a lot, but they make it worth your while. They'll even heal you if you take an arrow. But the biggest no-no is this: you don't steal from the family. If you don't contribute to the shared pot, you get the cold shoulder. You won't be treated like family no more. And then everyone will hear that you went to visit some relatives who have farmed someplace. My best guess? The farm is in some underground well beneath Canabras where they breed graveworms. If Sister Charisme, our boss, looked the other way more often, I'd really be able to spread my wings. Stealing from someone you call a sister, that's low. Birds fly low before a storm. I'm just surviving as best I can. Olgie fixes you with a look. Imagine the situation, Chief. You're 7 years old, you come home and your own grandma, your family, is laying there drunk and there's no food because she got wasted in the morning and didn't cook anything. And you know that she has a stash under the third floorboard. You take this money so as you don't starve to death. And then, when she wakes up, she beats you because you shouldn't have taken it. You should have stolen some food. You're a waste of space. That's something you can never understand, Chief. You only care about moral choices. You always know what's right and what's wrong. Brother, sister, grandma, mother. In real life, they're just words. Ами до някъде е прав, но това е от негова гледна точка, разбира се. Пак се вижда, че морала и как виждаш нещата е в зависимост какво е ставало покрай тебе и къде живееш. What do you think of Canavers? It used to be such a hole. Then the Crusaders and refugees came here and things started looking up. Although it depends who you ask, I suppose. Which is better steer clear of here because Ayom and his followers are ferocious, especially Hurlon Shapuk, the local inquisitor. He's tough old gold. Didn't see it myself, but the serving girl at the tavern told me that her second cousin, son from his third wife, is a paladin. And she said he said that Hurlon takes an unsheathed sword with them even to the privy, and when he sleeps he puts it on the pillow next to him, and when he's in his cups he strokes the blade and whispers sweetly to it, "You're my one true friend, and you're the only one I can rely on." Earbed's giving us a hard time too. You as much as look at someone nice little bubble, and before you can think of taking it, before your fingers even twitch, she's coming for you, with her nostrils flaring and her fangs glinting. Scary woman. But even she's better than Sister Charisme, our boss here in Canavers. By our, I mean the Tiefling's boss. If you get caught by Earbed, it's all out in the open. You go to prison or you end up as wormfood. But if you step on Charisme's toes, poof! You're gone, just like that. No one ever sees you again. All you hear is, he went to the family farm, even though he's never had a family or a farm. Добре, готино. You have a demon blood in you. Do you feel drawn to the abyss? Ojiv's tail whips back and forth nervously, raising clouds of dust. Why? Are you an inquisitor or something? What's it to you? If I've wronged you somehow, just come out and say it. Don't ask me trick questions. I know how it happens. I used to know a fella. He was married to the sister of a guard. Some shady types got him drunk one night and started asking him suspicious questions about the gods, about the queen. So he wakes up hangover with a headache, someone's mumbling something. It smells like smoke and his feet are kinda hot. He looks down and there's a fire under him and the prelate is reading out his sentence. Your shadow looks strange. What kind of magic is that? Ladies and gentlemen, roll up, roll up. No dark magic, no fraud. A trick without any deception. Waljiv snaps his fingers and blue flames and goes from him. The shadow that was previously laying calmly at his feet grows, floating in the air behind him. It is the shadow of a huge horned winged demon with claws. Ta-da! It doesn't do anything, it just looks scary. I remember when I was little, an old beggar showed me and my friends how to make shadow puppets. You put your fingers together in front of a light and it makes the shadow of a deer or a dog or a dove on the wall. I tried so hard I wanted to make the best shadow, and I did it. It just happened, Ojiv chuckled sadly. Funnily enough, that's the last time I had any real friends. They tried to stone me later, screaming at me, calling me a demon. A tiefling is always a demon to these wimps. Even the lowest ranking drunken gnome thinks he's better than me, just because he hasn't got horns on a tail. The poorest beggar in the filthiest gutter thinks he's better than me. Most people would never show their shadow again after the first time, but I don't care. If stones start flying again, I'll just run. I'm used to it by now. It's a harmless illusion, but you shouldn't show it to anyone. People hate what they don't understand. The blue fire disappears and the shadow becomes normal again. Ah, you're one of those people who are always scared of what might happen. You're not wrong though. You better not talk to me in public at all, or you'll get teared with the same brush. I used to have a so-called friend, a human. Well, he hummed and hewed and then told me to steer clear of him. His neighbors didn't like me. Then I sent the Owlbears gang to his house, you know, just one last visit to pick something up. I'd taken a shine to this pair of calfskin pants he had. A good lad like him wouldn't have need of them anyway. He found me later and gave me a hiding for my troubles, but that's another story. Добре. Enough, I want to ask something else. Няма за какво друго да си говорим. Whatever you're free to do as you please. Така, сега. Да. Добре, напреднали сме с времето в епизода. Чуда се, мисля да дигнем обаче левелите в този епизод, за да не се налага да го правя в следващия. И следващия направо да започнем с... Направо да започнем с играта. За да видим къде ще ходим. Най-вероятно ще се появим на някаква карта. Предполагам. Така че дайте да вдигнем левел тук като за край на епизода. Сен Арчер Монк. На трети левел получаваме 150 неща. Кайпул. Kai point. Supernatural energy he can use to accomplish amazing feats. Fast movement. Окей. Kai Strike. Това е много яко. Point Blank Master. Аз вече имам Point Blank Shot. Получавам Point Blank Master for free. Nice. Use his Wisdom modifier instead of Dexterity on ranged attack rolls. Добре. Много яки неща получаваме тук. Така. Поръчахме да дигаме ние. Perception задължително. Дигнахме едно стелт за всеки случай. А мислехме да дигаме, мисля, че Mobility и Athletics. Или стелт да го дигаме. Стелт ще го дигаме. Защото е рейнджер и освен това е монк. И е хубаво да има стелт. А Athletics ще го оставяме за някой друг. Така. Precise Shot. You can shoot a throw ranged weapons to an opponent engaged in melee. Това е хубаво. Back to back. While you're flanked, just into an ally with this feat, you receive 2 circumstance bonus. Аха. Combat mobility обаче. Combat mobility е много яко. Тук сега получавахме стиловете. Това какво прави? You take only -2 penalty on attack rolls for fighting defensively. While using this style and fighting defensively, you gain additional 1 dodge bonus to armor class. Добре, това е много яко, ако си наблизки. И с fighting defensively ти реално получаваш 3 AC безплатно. Така, с Crane style. Я видим какви други имаше. Deflect Arrow не е лошо като за него. Deft Hands, това какво прави? Trickery Use Magic, не. Die Hard е готин. Dragon Style. Явим сега. Нещо за мобилити става въпрос. While using this style game plus 2 bonus saving throws against sleep, paralysis and stunning. Further you can add 1.5 times your strength bonus to the damage roll for your first unarmed strike. Добре, това е за unarmed. Improved initiative, това не е лошо. Mounted combat, интересно. Precise strike. О, това ни трябва. Whenever you and an ally who also have this feat are flanking the same creature, you deal an additional 1d6 points of damage with each successful melee attack. Това е станало само за melee attack. Преди си беше за всичко, мисля, че. Scribe Scrolls, не, seize the moment. When an ally who also has this feat confirms critical hit against an opponent that you also threaten, you can make an attack of opportunity. Виж, това също е много яко. Имаме skill focus, имаме stunning fist. Forces fall damage by an unarmed attack to make a fortitude saving throw. Вие знаете ли, че аз не знам той дали ще получи кай страйкове разни. Zen Archer бонус фит. От бонус фита получаваме тия Deflect Arrows, Dodge и така нататък. Аз Dodge вече съм го дигнал, нали? Добре, какво още имаме? Combat Casting, Deadly Aim. Чакай се. Penalty on Ranged Attack Rolls, обаче правим повече демидж. Това викат, че не е добра идея да се вдигне, така ли? Weapon Finesse. Rapid Shot също. Не, тук надолу няма какво вдигане. Добре, аз си мисля, че тия стиловете ще може да си намерим някакви стилове, които да си качим, обаче те са по-скоро за близък бой. Така че в известна степен е най-добре да си дигнем Precise Shot. Да, после ще дигнем Cluster Shot. Точно така ще направим. Значи Precise Shot. Alertness-а. И това е много яко. Добре, ще видим. За сега така. Point Blank Master Longbow. Right. Complete. Добре. Нашия монк стана много сериозен тип. Шаман Spirit Hunter. Тук на трети левел нямаме нищо в общи линии, което да дигнем. Трикъри задължително. Тя има някакъв стелт. Perception. Добре, тя защо дига някакви неща, които не са и от... от професията. Има стелт, което ни трябва. Има Perception, което не е лошо. Няма смисъл да дигаме Persuasion. Може да дигнем някакъв лор. Или да продължи да дигам Perception. Тя няма много. Но пък може би някакъв е по-добре от никакъв. Ще дигна едно на Nature. Може би. Нямаме Knowledge Arcanist за момент. Wall Gif само на плюс 4. Той първо много малко аркана. И тя ако дигне едно ще ни стане на плюс 4. Но пък може да има много Nature. Или да продължа да дигам Perception пък в крайна сметка. По-добре Perception. Сега, и тя може Weapon Focus. Какво си дигнала тя всъщност? Weapon Finesse. Има трикъри. Courtier. Persuasion and Trickery. Green Fate. Тя има някакво даяти. Spirit Shaman. Battle Master. Да, това е, защото и дигнах този на мястото на хексовете. Simple Weapon Proficiency. Имаме Light Armor, Medium Armor, Object и Spirit Weapon. Аз не мисля да правим рейнджът нея. Мисля да си остане на близки. Защото ми харесва така с рапирата да се бие. Някакси е част от героя. Така че може би Weapon Focus е най-добрият вариант. Нека видим какво още имаме като възможности. Имаме Combat Casting. Което ще трябва да дигнем в един момент. Dodge също не е лошо. Crane Style. Тя има ли ги тия неща? Защото тя ако има Crane Style, ние ще се пръснем от кеф. 2 Racial Bonus, Spell Resistance. Какво? Granting 2 Racial Bonus on caster level made to overcome Spell Resistance. Аха, това е за като правим бойни магии. Elven Spirit, интересно. 2 Bonus Saving Throws against Illusion. Exotic Proficiency. Не. Improved Elven Immunities. Елфите имат много неща, които могат да си качват. Интересно. Persuasive, Precise Strike. Това ми се иска да я дигнем, но за момента никой друг го няма. Въпросът е, че тя има много атаки в opportunity-та и с този Teamwork Feat направо ще ги смачкаме. Precise Strike. Пиранията какво беше? Loading live weapon can be used. Weapon finesse. You can choose to take also a penalty на all melee attack rolls and combat maneuver checks to gain plus 2 on all damage rolls. Ага. Shield Proficiency. Не. Добре, значи горе имаме Weapon Focus, което ще ни даде възможност да ги целиме повече. А другото нещо е този Teamwork Feat, който ми харесват най-много. Precise Strike. Обаче за момента никой друг не използва Precise Strike. Така че ние ще се дигнем Weapon Focus. Рапира. О, ще има Penetrating Strike, Dazzling Display. Да. Добре. Това е нейният път всъщност, по който искам да я развивам. Dexterity и всичко идеално. Окей. О, тя получи втори левел магии. Ще трябва и това да си го сложим. Ще видим магиите обаче след като дигнем Паладина. The Paladin. Тук имаше ли нещо, на което да го развиваме? Друго не. Мисля, че нямаше. Така. Тя на какво дига на Knowledge World, I guess. Имаме Mobility и Athletics. Защото Persuasion няма да дигам. Може да дигнем Use Magic Device. Няма да е лошо, за да мога да използва някой друг скрол. Да измъкне едно Athletics. Да дигнем това при... топът няма да й даде много. Добре. Не, така е екстра, значи. Тя какво има? Тя има Shield Focus и Dodge. Добре. Какво? Trickery и Stealth? Боже. Защо си дали такива неща? Hour of Courage. Сега ще получим някакво Mercy. Добре. Ами Weapon Focus е добър вариант. Тя дали може да използва Bastard Sword? Или тя е на Long Sword като мен? Защото така ще трябва да измислим и на нея някакъв Long Sword. Combat Mobility. видим какво можем да изложим на нея още. Leon Hands, Elemental Focus, Fast Learner, Skill Point, History Terrors, Great Fortitude, Missile Shield, звучи добре. Persuasive. О, тя могла да дигне Precise Strike. Добре, значи се попрецакахме малко. Трябваше на нея да изложим Precise Strike. Нищо, айде за сега ще бъде армора да ни дава нищо, значи по-скоро нека да е Weapon Focus, айде. И тя се събие на Longsword. Освен това има Shield Focus, така че аз замислих се дали да не я направим на двоен меч. Обаче, понеже има Shield Focus, ще трябва да си продължим на Shield. Тя няма Bastard Sword, за жалост. Значи тя ще е на Longsword. Изтървахме възможността да вдигнем сега тая възможност за Precise Strike. Мисля, че щяхме много повече да ги бием, ако бях вдигнал Precise Strike. Двама човека с Precise Strike щяха да са много добре. И да правят много демидж. Като начален такъв teamwork feat. Сега решихме да не дигнаме много яки неща. Добре, да, аз какво и дигнах всъщност на... Аз дигнах, чакайте сега, аз дигнах това, сега ще дигнем това. Аз какво и дигнах всъщност на тази? Weapon Focus. Weapon Focus. Weapon Finesse. Че това нещо... с финеса, да. Плюс едно бонус на Attack Rolls. Мисля обаче да се лоудна и да им дигна на двете Precise Striking, защото Precise Striking ще ни е много по-полезен, особено в началото, тъй като ще ни даде повече демидж и повече възможност да атакуваме. Всъщност може и да се бъркам, може и Precise Striking да не беше това, което си мисля. Добре, ще помислим и ще видим. Значи ли ще продължим така с този избор, който съм направил в момента, или ще се лоудна и ще смениме само този фид. Даже в следващия епизод ще покажа дали съм го сменил или ще кажа дали съм го сменил. И така, това ще бъде всичко от този епизод обаче, защото той без това стана изключително много дълъг. В следващия епизод излизаме от таверната най-накрая, след толкова много разговори, вече с новия Уолджив и останалите. Ще видим как ще се стекат обстоятелствата и на къде ще потеглим първо, тъй като квестовете просто са много. Ще трябва да ходим на много места, ще видим какво ще се случи там. Благодаря ви, че гледахте, надявам се да ви е било забавно. Желая всичко хубаво и чао!